Ever notice how some words just make your eyes glaze over? Like, they're important, but it's like finance. It used to be that way for me, and I'm guessing if you're tuning in for this, maybe you feel the same. I mean, we're marketing minds, right? Not here to crunch numbers all
Right.
day. But here's the thing. Finance, it's the language of business.
Mm.
And to really own this PhD thing, to get our research funded, to have a voice at the table, well, we need to speak the language.
That's what I love about this deep dive.
Right.
It's like essential for us.
Totally. And that's why we're doing this deep dive, going deep into this paper, Bare Minimum Finance, a Hitchhiker Guide for Marketing Doctoral Students.
Hmm.
And it's not some stuffy textbook. It's actually notes from a finance course
Huh.
taken by another marketing PhD student just like us.
So it's like we're getting that inside scoop, you know?
Exactly. Like that friend who aced finance giving us the crash course.
And they jump right into it, tackling this whole accounting versus finance thing.
Which always seemed kind of murky to me.
Yeah, it's easy to get them mixed up, but the paper makes this distinction between not just numbers, but time. Accounting is like looking back, it's the past. Finance uses that to look forward.
Okay, so it's like accounting tells us how much we spend on that Super Bowl ad, but finance helps us decide if we should do it again next year,
Exactly.
based on like if it was worth it or not.
Yeah, think of it this way. The accounting data, those are your raw materials. Finance is where we take that and turn it into strategy.
Okay, that actually makes a lot more sense. See, I always thought finance was all formulas, like super complex stuff, but this paper actually says that's not true,
Yeah.
right?
No, they're adamant about that. It's about logic, critical thinking, understanding what those numbers are telling us about the company.
So it is a story.
It is.
Okay, and speaking of stories, they get into this thing called window dressing, which sounds a little, I don't know,
Yeah, well, it can be.
shady.
It's this tactic companies use to make their financials look better than they are.
Like putting a filter on a dating profile.
Exactly. Might get you more swipes, but not really accurate.
And in the business world, that can backfire big time.
Huge consequences.
Enron, anyone.
Exactly. Total implosion.
Okay, so point taken. Even when we're talking bare minimum finance, ethics still matter. Now, the paper gets into accounting basics and even lays down these two ground rules that I have to admit made me laugh. Like, on the one hand, they're saying everybody knows accounting, but then they hit us with, there are no rules. Like, what?
It's funny, right?
Yeah.
It's their way of making a point. It's their way of being provocative, you know?
It'll get you thinking.
But at its core, accounting is really just tracking money, where it comes from, where it goes. We all do it.
True.
But the no rules part, that's where it gets interesting because there's room for interpretation.
So, like, we get the basic recipe, income minus expenses equals profit.
Right.
But some companies, they get a little too creative with the ingredients.
Exactly. And that's why we need these financial statements.
Yeah.
They cut through all that and give us the real deal.
Okay, so let's talk about those statements, because I'll be honest, they used to make me sweat a little.
It's a lot to take in.
But this paper, they make it click by thinking of like a story.
Gee, they
Yeah.
do. And each statement, it's like a chapter in the company's story. The balance sheet, that's your snapshot in time. What you own, what you owe.
And the difference is,
The owner's equity, their stake.
okay, makes sense.
Not-
And then there's the income statement.
That's like your performance review. Did you make money or not?
So for us marketers, it's like, did our campaigns actually work?
Did they drive sales?
Yeah.
That's what you see there.
So important. Okay, and then there's another one, right? Cash flow.
That one. People gloss over it, but honestly,
Yeah.
super important, especially for marketing. It tracks the actual movement of cash.
So not just like sales on paper,
Nope, when the money's in hand.
which is what we need to reinvest, right?
Exactly. More marketing magic. That's where that cash conversion cycle comes in.
Oh, yeah, so it's basically how long it takes to turn like inventory into actual money,
Exactly. Shorter cycle is key.
because then you've got cash ready to go.
For new campaigns, new
Yeah.
products, anything really. And as marketers, we actually have influence there.
We do.
Think about it. Faster product adoption. That's on us. Better deals with our vendors. Cash flow. It's not just spending, it's how that money moves through the whole system.
Wow, I never even thought of it like that. Okay, so since we're talking money, costs, because marketers, we're always on a budget, right?
Always. And this paper breaks down the types of costs, which is so important for strategy.
Right, like direct versus indirect.
Exactly.
So direct is pretty simple, right? Like the cost of our ads, if we're doing social media or whatever.
Your ad spend,
But then there's all that other stuff.
your indirect, your team, your software.
The stuff that sneaks up on you.
But it all matters. Both types. Factor them in. Got to be able to explain not just what we're spending directly, but how it hits the whole department.
So we can justify those fancy tools we love.
Exactly. Got to speak their language, right?
Speaking of which,
Mm-hmm.
they have this whole section about the agency problem.
Mm.
And at first I thought they were talking like talent agencies.
Sounds like it, right?
Yeah.
But no, in finance, it's about conflicts of interest between like managers and the actual owners of the company.
Okay. Help me out. How does this connect to us in marketing?
Well, we're often judged on certain numbers, right? Website traffic, engagement, all that.
Yeah, for sure.
But are those always the things that are best for the company's bottom line long term?
Interesting. So we could be killing it on some metrics, but if it's not actually leading to sales.
Could be missing the mark.
Wow.
It's about the bigger picture. That's the agency problem. Got to prove our work aligns with the financial goals, not just chasing likes, you know?
Totally. Being strategic, not just about our little bubble.
Exactly. Got to understand how it all connects.
Okay, we've covered a lot. Accounting versus finance, the statements, costs, even this agency thing.
And through it all, what strikes me is how essential this stuff is for marketing. It's not just the numbers, it's being able to talk the talk.
Yes. Advocate for our ideas, but like in a way that makes sense to the people holding the purse strings.
Exactly. And one thing that always tripped me up was the ratios, like intimidating.
Oh, tell me about it.
But they can be so helpful. Like, think of them as your marketing dashboard.
Ooh, I like dashboards.
Right. So you've got things like your CAC, your customer acquisition costs.
So how much it costs us to get a new customer.
Mm,
And lower is better, right?
lower is better. But you got to compare that to your LTV, lifetime value of that customer.
So how much they're worth to us over time.
Are you spending more to get them than you'll ever make back?
Oof, good point.
And by tracking this, we see if our marketing is getting more efficient over time.
Okay, so ratios, they're like analytics, but for the money side of things. Love it.
Exactly. And knowing these can be huge for making decisions, justifying budgets.
Proving our worth.
100%. Okay, but there's one more thing. This time value of money concept, it's so important, but tough to wrap your head around sometimes.
Yes, it's like I know it matters, but
Mhm.
what does it actually mean for what I do every day?
Right. It sounds simple, but the implications are huge. Basically, money now is worth more than that same money later
Okay, that makes sense, I guess, but why?
because of investment. If you
Yeah.
have it now, you can put it to work, earn interest, make more money.
The opportunity cost. Got it. But how does this apply to, like, actual marketing stuff?
Okay, let's say you've got two campaigns. One, low cost, quick returns. The other, you need to invest more up front, but the payoff down the line is bigger.
Tough choice.
Right. If we're only thinking short term, we might jump on that quick win, but that's where time value of money comes in. What's that money we're spending and now doubly worth if we used it differently?
So, got to factor in the long game.
Yes, it's about the strategic decisions. Where are your resources best spent? Even if it's not an immediate woo moment.
This is making so much sense. By getting this,
Mhm.
we can be so much more convincing when we're pitching ideas.
Exactly. It's not just I'm creative, it's I'm strategic, I get it.
Yes. Okay, which leads us to capital budgeting.
Which sounds way scarier than it is. It's just deciding what gets funded.
So in our world, which marketing campaigns get the green light?
You got it. And the paper goes through all these methods companies use to decide. And these are tools WE can use to make our case.
So it's not enough to have the brilliant idea.
Oh.
We got to be able to back it up financially, show the ROI, all that.
Show them the numbers. And that's where these evaluation methods come in. Payback period, how long till we earn back the investment?
Shorter's better, I'm guessing.
You bet. Then you've got IRR, internal rate of return.
Okay, so that's basically
That's the return on investment percentage-wise.
higher the better, right?
You got it. More bang for your buck.
Okay, I'm following. What else?
And then there's NPV, which sounds complicated, but
Hit me.
it factors in that time value of money we talked about.
Right. $1 today is not the same tomorrow.
Exactly. It brings those future earnings into today's terms.
Okay, so if we get these methods, payback, IRR, NPV, we can really make our case strong.
Exactly. Data-driven marketing.
Yes. Oh, but they also mentioned this thing, the balanced scorecard. What's that all about?
That's where it gets really interesting. Because it goes beyond just the money.
Right.
It's like financial success is great, but it's not everything.
There's more to life.
Right. It says you should also think about customer happiness, how things run internally. Are your employees growing?
Well, yeah, because those things all affect the bottom line eventually, right?
Exactly. Happy customers, smooth processes. That's what drives profit in the long run.
It's holistic.
And for us marketers, this balanced scorecard is gold because it lets us connect our work to the big goals of the company. It's not just, oh, our campaign was cool. It's, look, we moved the needle on these other things too.
We're telling a bigger story.
Yes. Impact beyond just the dollars and cents.
This is fantastic. I feel like I have so much to think about now.
It's eye-opening, isn't it?
It is. But before we go too far down this road, the paper, it really focuses on maximizing firm value. Like, that's the goal.
Yeah, that's the classic view.
But these days, should it be the only OI goal? What about ethics, sustainability, all that?
It's a huge conversation, right? Like, the world's changing. What does success even look like anymore?
Right. It's not just about the bottom line.
And I think for marketers, we're right there on the front lines of that. Consumers are demanding more. They want to support companies that are doing good.
They want to vote with their wallets.
Totally.
Right.
And that's where it gets really interesting because we have so much power to influence that, to make sure our strategies aren't just profitable, but they're ethical, they're sustainable.
We're building a better future alongside a better brand.
Exactly. And that's something to get excited about.
Huge. So any last words for our listeners? Like, what's the one thing they can take and apply, like right now, to bridge this marketing finance gap?
I'd say when you're coming up with your next big campaign idea, don't just think like a marketer, think like an investor too. Ask yourself, how does this help the company win, not just today, but years from now?
Love that. So it's not about abandoning the creativity, it's about adding another layer.
Yes. Data-driven creativity, that's the magic formula.
I'm so here for that. This deep dive has been amazing. I feel like I have a whole new toolkit now.
Me too.
It's not just about the numbers. It's about the story they tell and using that story to make good things happen for our brands, for our customers, for the world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Awesome. So until next time, keep asking those tough questions and keep diving deep.